And so, because they may not really have the proper procedure to assure that maximum accuracy, and that's what you need if you're going to get that next rental place. So the FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, is what covers them. So we'll talk about that as we go along. So what you want to do is to actually get that report to begin with. So let's say you've been rejected for a rental unit, and they don't necessarily have to tell you if that was the reason, like the landlord who's gotten this report. But if the adverse action is because of that report, they've always got to give you the name, phone number, etc. of the company. Even though they might not be saying that's the reason, they still have to give you that information if they've got that report. And then you need to request the report within 20 days. Okay? So they give you the method to contact that company to get that report, but it's up to you to do it. They don't have to give it to you. The landlord doesn't have to provide the report to you. You have to do that yourself. So definitely do it. Do it within 20 days. And so not only could there be something about maybe a previous eviction or a previous problem with not paying rent, problem with the landlord or whatever, there can be other things on there, as we've already said. So you need to get that report and make sure that everything that's on there, whether negative or positive, but particularly when it's negative, you got to make sure that that's correct. So how do you dispute the information? All right. You will send a dispute letter to the screening company that you've gotten the information on. So you got to review that report really closely, line by line, and write down, everything that's incorrect. If you see a different social security number, a different name, a different address, any kind of incorrect information, write all that down. Do it all, at the same time when you're disputing the report. Dispute everything that's incorrect. Now, if the information is correct, you can't dispute it. Like if it really happened and the information is correct and you just wish it wasn't on there, that is not something that you can dispute or challenge, because it's true. But when it's not true, it's incorrect, then you have the right to challenge it. So what they have to do then, when they get your dispute, they've got that 30 days that we talked about, and they have to contact whoever furnished the incorrect information and ask them to reinvestigate it. Check it out, see if from their records it's right or wrong. And lots of times these type of furnishers with this type of information, and even the information behind that, is quite often just not correct. One of the examples that we see quite often is when there was maybe an eviction was filed, but the eviction was denied, right? And the person had paid up their rent, but then maybe they moved on or whatever. So, but the eviction was not granted. But often on our judicial records here in South Carolina, that case is still on the public index, eviction in your name, that there was an eviction action. Sometimes these companies aren't going to go and actually look at the record and see that maybe the case was dismissed, or maybe it wasn't properly reported, in our court administrative workflow. Sometimes that can happen. But either way, you need to check those kind of things out. That's definitely something that happens a lot. And if the furnisher says, oh, no, that was correct, they got evicted, then you can provide the information that you have that shows that you were not evicted, that the case was dropped or dismissed or whatever the result was. And what that brings up is how important it is when you have something like that happen, whether it's eviction or anything else, you really need to keep that paperwork. Okay? because it may be hard to get the paperwork later on. If your case gets dismissed or it's found that you don't owe any back rent or something like that, you want to have that in writing, because there's not going to be a very detailed record of that the way that evictions work in South Carolina. So you definitely need to always get the paperwork on things like that and keep it. If you just have to even scan it to your computer or just keep hard copies, however you keep records, make sure that you have that, so if you do need to dispute something, you've got it. And you can make it clear to whoever's furnishing that information that they've got incorrect information. And then if they don't correct it, as we'll talk about momentarily, then you have the right to require them to do that through a lawsuit under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. But you have to dispute that debt with them.